looks like I'm back to streaming. Been a day or two. So what I'm going to work on today is Specularity. Looks like this thing's coming along okay. I added a couple of textures to it in the foreground and the background. Oh, look at there. Yeah. Well, so I'm just going to get right into it and do some specularity over the top of this thing. The nice thing is the procedural texture that I added was from well, I covered this before, but I'll go over it again real quick so you know. This little texture, let me see if I can show you what I'm doing here. Let's turn all these layers off, and yeah, you can kind of see the texture here. Let's turn these off too. Maybe add the background so you can see it a little bit. Yeah, that's what this is. It's kind of a plasma texture that is created through your filter setting. You come down here to render, and you go over to difference clouds. But since I'm not on that layer, it's not going to show me. Here, hold on a second. Filter, render, clouds, and difference clouds. And the cool thing about that is, when you start, you have essentially just well, let's go ahead and render one. I'll show you. I'll change this from black to white. Actually, I will add another layer because it's a tosser layer. We'll get rid of it here in a second. Turn off this one. Okay, this is just a white layer. Doesn't matter what's in it. It really makes no difference as long as there's some kind of color in it. And then come down here to filter, render, clouds, and it will render out your clouds in whichever colors, your main colors that you selected. Now the cool thing about this is you know, you could stop here and come up to I believe, let's see, image adjust. You could go to an adjustment layer or virtually whatever you want to do, and go to curves, or actually levels is pretty good, and just kind of level out your blacks and whites there, and you know, and give yourself kind of a strange texture. And you could do that, and that's fine. And then you can actually come up here to filter and go to render difference clouds. These are two of my favorites. You know, just by default, look at that. Isn't that cool? It's really quite gorgeous. It gives kind of a just a real strange look to it. Textures are where it's at in this game. Then you could go up here to, you know, you can run through another you know, another filter here, oil paint perhaps. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I have a Discord channel that's open right now. It's discord.gg, capital RCKTEM. Feel free to join in there. You probably won't get any voice activity online, but I'll be able to hear you. We'll be able to visit. I actually prefer Discord far more than anything else, because I'm not really hands-free to chat, so it's much easier for me this other way. But anyway, if you look at this oil painting type thing, it gives us kind of a nice little texture. You could click OK and save that. Whatever you want there, looks good. Now, you could we could try this with that texture, or just keep the one that we've got. Doesn't really make much difference. The only difference is, of course, is I've already started doing the specularity with this other texture, which is quite simple in comparison to this one. But now at least you know how to do that, and you could do that virtually any number of times that you want. Come up to filter and come down to render difference clouds, And then just hit Control F to do it a number of times there. And you can get some really fascinating textures this way. And like I say, it's all about the textures. Really is. And sometimes, you know, if you don't like what you've got, you just come back up here and back out, you know. Come back a couple layers in your history and, you know, go from, just pick whichever one you want. But anyway, that gives your foreground elements a really tasty little bit of spice on the taco, as it were. Yeah. My girlfriend's sitting in here with me. She's Pinteresting. She's hanging out. Say hi.
Hi.
She's over there smiling at y'all. All right. So what I'm going to do is turn on all my layers again and just get kind of back to where we were. This of course was the original drawing. That's kind of where we stopped on our last episode or Twitch-isode or whatever. And now you notice I'm just kind of adding colors that are there. And layer 4. Let's see, we had an adjustment layer. So yeah, it was a color adjustment layer. And that's all good and well. I was kind of hard pressed to figure which of these I liked better, with the color or without. Now, to me, they're both really powerful, and my gal and I took a good hard look at it and thought, well, maybe it was creepier without all the color. Maybe it makes it look more dead. I think for the purposes of what we're doing, I think I'm going to go ahead and leave some color in it. I backed it out quite a bit. It's only, as you can see, 48% opacity. And so we're going to take a look at that, and then I think I added, yeah, here's my specularity. I should probably label it. Anytime you get a chance to label your layers, do it. Makes things much quicker. Obviously, you can look in the side there, in your layers menu, and just look at the thumbnail and kind of figure out from there. But sometimes those layers are kind of curious. Maybe you're working with a real light opacity or a low opacity, and so it looks like everything's just kind of alpha in there. There's really nothing to distinguish it or whatnot between that one and other layers. So best just to label them and quit rambling about it. I take it. Yeah. Okay. So right here, we're going to go and call this spec. I usually call this just spec for short. Lets me know that that's my specularity layer. This one I'm going to leave as color balance because it's quite obviously an adjustment layer, and it's really just a little adjustment. I mean, it's barely there, but it gives, I don't know, just a tasty little bit of color. And of course, I've given it color around this exterior here more than anything. I washed it out in the middle just to give our eyes something to focus on. And I mean, by default, you normally gravitate toward the most vibrant area of any painting or art. And to me, that's usually the lightest, the stuff that looks more like sunshine. And or you know, sometimes you just gravitate automatically toward the center of a painting anyway. That's why a lot of artists kind of focus their key bullet points to the center of any canvas. Some do, some don't. You know, really, it doesn't make any difference as long as you become kind of the master of leading where your viewer or your onlooker is going to go. You kind of have to direct them, and sometimes it's real difficult. A lot of people cram a whole bunch of detail into a painting and just say, okay, now go. And that's okay. That's kind of what I've done with this one. But you know, also there's little flows and, you know, little crisscrosses and that golden S-curve thing that I've been talking about in this one, and I use that a lot because it's so powerful. It makes the eyes just dance around a painting, and you could definitely use that in most of your stuff. So now that I've talked your brains out, sorry about that, I'm going to get into adding a little bit of detail, and I think this specularity is really where it's at when it comes to, you know, putting the finishing touches on this stuff. Now you can see I've already kind of gone in and added little tasty bits in here. Let's make sure that one layer is turned off. See if I add that layer. Okay, that's the one that we just created. Now there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not the one I wanted. So I'm going to bring that down here, and I stash this in my BAK folder. Let's just put it away because, you know, you never know when you're going to come back through this stuff and grab layers for other projects. And of course, you can see that's really easy to do it if you know what you're doing. Or you can just say, well, I've already done that. Here's part of my library. I'm just going to grab that layer and use it in other work. That's okay too. Doesn't matter to me. Shouldn't matter to anybody else too. I mean, it's so random and simple. These procedural mappings that you do. It's a lot of fun though. Really beautiful to look at, and it gives you some really cool ideas for other projects that you could do down the road. All right. If you guys are interested in a couple of extra details, type exclamation point details, and it will take you out to my web page and give you some additional resources. There's not a whole lot there right now, but that's where it will be, including whatever I decide on, you know, for the Twitch channel. The Twitch chat is, to me, I hope that it completely replaces text chat, because I hate text chat. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. I mean, I am right now, but because I've got a single monitor, I'm still looking on my cell phone for text chat in Twitch. You know, I really don't look at it a whole lot because I'm busy doing art. So anyway, looks to me, let's see if we can move this around and see if I'm caught up. I think I am. I don't know, did it grenade again? I hope not. No? Nope. Looks like it's good. Okay. Well, let's just dig in. We're talking about it, just do it. There's part of the specularity layer. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take the specularity layer and I will get to a point where I'm really happy with it, and then I'll just create another layer and do it again. Right now I'm using a layer that is, the transfer mode is set to overlay and the opacity at 100. That should work fine. That way we don't destroy the color underneath, but we just add a little light to it. And that's fun. It's fun to do. We could go ahead and just stay on the specularity layer that we're on, and that's fine as well. Now there's some things. Looks like my colors are backwards. Make sure to use white. White makes a great specularity layer color. No, I guess you could use black. Depends on what effect you're going for. But yeah, you know, specularity is traditionally just really nice, bright highlight. But far be it from me to tell you how to do art. I'm just telling you how I do my stuff. I really like it when I learn a new trick. So by all means, if you find something that you think I need to do, make sure to mention it. Drop me a comment. We're going to be doing a Buddha portrait here pretty soon. I think I'm going to do a little practice Buddha first, and then I'm going to bring it to you. And I am really not the world's best at portraits. That is why it's very important for me to do portraits, because the more you do, the more you learn. The more you learn, of course, the more fun you have with art. So let's definitely learn. We can learn together. How's that? Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, Tammy. Tammy, wink, wink. I've been trying to get my friend Tammy on here to play with me online for a while now. And she has an art teacher that is evidently rocking her socks off. And I'm getting excited for her because she's having so much fun, and it's really cool when you see people enjoying their art so much that they just can't quit. I've been a professional tattoo artist for 25 years, and for me, hey, some days I'm it's just a real joy, and some days you gotta figure 25 years, that's a quarter century of doing the same thing. So some days I'm just not into it, and that's all right. But most days I am. But some days I just sooner shoot myself in the face than do it. And I think most of us in any job that we do, if you do it long enough, it's just not everything it was initially cracked up to be. However, with art is kind of a special case, because you can pick it up and put it down. You really can. And sometimes it's good to pick it up and put it down, because when you come back later, you have a fresh set of eyes and a fresh perspective. And that is so important, because a fresh perspective will help you grow as an artist, where you don't stagnate, you don't have problems like you did in the past with certain things. Maybe all of a sudden your eyes just see a little better. You become a better a better artist. Being able to see is for sure critical. And I don't mean see as as in the antithesis of being blind. What I mean is being able to see shapes and colors and flows, textures, and little things that really make your artwork go zing. Now let's back out, because that's really important. I'm not going to flip the canvas because it's not necessary. Looks like we have, wow, we have quite a thing going on here. Got a lot of light up here, and I'm not so sure that that's a bad thing. But when you look over here at your navigator, this is if you were, let's pretend that you were, I don't know, at this particular scale. I would say that this painting would probably be best suited at about 36 by 24, something like that, or whatever the resolution or is right here. At any rate, if you were to back out about 5-10 feet, there's a rule that most of us artists have. If you like something that has if it's got a really good looking silhouette at 20 feet, then chances are it'll be even more interesting at 10, because the detail will become clearer and whatnot. Now, if you have things that stick out like a sore thumb at 20 feet, then you probably need to address them, because chances are when you get closer, they'll even be more irritating. And when you're doing this type of artwork, perhaps it's not such a big deal. But there's also another rule called reserve, and if you'll reserve your specularity for your highlights that you want people to see the most and where you want to direct the eye, you'll also have a better overall effect. Oh, looks like my EVE Online guys are desperately trying to get my attention. But see, although this is pleasure for me, this is also work for me, because the paintings and things that I'm doing right now are also for sale. So, and you could purchase these things from me anytime. Just give me a shout. If you're looking for an original, I mean, obviously these are digital, so we could get you that and a canvas painting. Normally, I just sell these things in canvas and have them drop shipped to you. But there's no reason you couldn't have an original at full scale either, because these things are actually quite humongous. This is 33%, and if you zip into 100%, I mean, you can see that it is quite big. It's quite large, and there's a lot more detail down here when you get into that macro. I hope you saw kind of what I did there. I'm just taking the brightest highlights and adding to it. Now, I think that it would be fun to kind of come down that side a little bit, maybe down the back ridge of this little thing. What did you call it, Loveda? Did you call this some insect? What?
Chameleon creeper.
The chameleon creeper. We had a long discussion earlier about what exactly this thing is, because people will ask you, especially when you're doing this type of work, well, what is it? I don't get it. And that's great, because that means they have to use their brain and get it themselves. The idea behind my art, for the most part, is simply, hey, listen, it's just art. Take it for what it is. Don't worry about what it isn't. Look at it. Let it invoke whatever it is going to invoke in you, and take it on a case-by-case basis. One day you might see one thing, one day you might see another thing. It's art. It's just it's a combination of things. Art is fuzzy. It's sharp. It's flowy. It's terse. It's colorful. It's vapid. It can be anything you want it to be, as long as when people look at it, they're entertained and they're intrigued by it. So it doesn't have to be, there are people that says, well, why do you do everything so fuzzy? Well, it's because I rather, most of my life I've seen a little fuzzy. And that's just how I see. I don't always see a real stark line, And a lot of times when you're trying to do something that's pseudo-realistic, you don't want those real harsh lines. The only time you want anything real harsh is when it gets closer to you, and even then, it's still somewhat out of focus, because nobody walks around with a line drawn around their nostril. Even in the darkest places, in the darkest shadows, like the nostril or their lip ridge. And yes, I just put that pen in my nose and then touch my lip with it. So gross. I am just gross. Anyway, no, but I mean, anywhere where the light doesn't shine, you're going to get a little sharper detail, especially when it's closer to you. But that doesn't mean it has a line. It doesn't mean it just doesn't mean that. Let's take a look at this and then come back down to let's see. Let's just look at the line work. Hide, show all other layers. Okay, I think I had another layer in here that was just, I think it's in my back. Yeah, it's in the back layer. Lines back. And let's just throw a background. No, we can't do that. We got all this stuff. Oh, okay. There were some lines. Okay, now you see how awkward that looks? I mean, background or no background, it just looks kind of awkward. It looks more cartoonish than anything. And we're not looking, at least for this piece, we're not looking for a cartoon. So at any rate, yeah, let's turn that back off before I throw up. I'm just kidding, I would not do that. But yeah, let's come back out here and to that specularity layer and keep working. I'll try to shut up as much as possible. Also, free to join me on the Discord channel. It is discord.gg, capital RCKTEM. If you don't have Discord yet, you're really missing the point of life, because Discord is really cool. It's handy not only for small groups of people, it's really good for families to stay in touch. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You guys are more than welcome to join me on this too, Mom, Dad, brothers, cousins, and Claudine. All right, let's zoom in. Levada. My girl is she's a Pinterest fiend, but she's as much into the technology industry as she has to be. That's kind of where it stops. She's not really into it. Isn't that right, sweetheart? That's right. You know, if you guys get subscribed and follow and hang out with me a little bit, I'll get her to do a dance for you. She's an amazing belly dancer. She's quite hot, so it's yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah. Now, who wouldn't sub for that, right? She moves like a snake. It's awesome. Just, I call it the serpentine move. She's really, really clever when it comes to putting moves together. That's not why I love her. I mean, that's part of it, but she has a lot of talents, a lot of gifts. And what's really cool about all that is I heard her singing the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, this girl she can sing. And what's funny, she's laughing at me right now, but little does she know, I'm dead serious. You've got a good voice, sweetheart. She's very modest. And I'm not sure that that's a bad quality. Being modest is okay. It means you're not a braggart. Philosophy with Armchair Artist. Come on down. Sit a spell. We'll philosophize and then look up that word in the dictionary and make sure that it's a real word. Ain't that right, hon? Is that a real word? Seriously, can you look that up? Philosophize? You got a browser open? Are you full screen Pinterest and not moving for anything? She's looking for humor because I'm not funny. I'm I don't have a funny bone in my body, evidently. What do you think about those specularities? I think those look pretty good. I'm going to continue to traverse this back part because I think that these little shines just make that light much more intense, especially around this area. You see in the back. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just grabbing the smudge tool, and I've got about an 80 bristle, or not a bristle, but a size 80 pixel brush, and it's just a regular. I think it's just a standard. I'm pretty sure it was a standard one. I can't remember which one I did. Where are you? Does this show me the selection, the brush selection? I wish it was really obvious which brush you've selected. Maybe it is in newer versions, but I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. Anyway, just get you a nice squishy brush and smudge that stuff out. And I'm sure that virtually any smudge brush will do the trick. You don't have to get real accurate because, again, we're on an overlay layer, and as long as you spread that around a little bit to where you can see it and it's blending nicely, excuse me, hiccups, over your other colors, then that's really all you need. So let's grab a little bit more white in there. And I've been asked by a couple people, why did I go from GIMP to Photoshop? And here's the real answer. I have always used Photoshop. I love it. It's a great product. A lot of people can't afford it, so I was trying to be as thrifty and get everybody on board that we could possibly get on board. Sometimes, guys, you just really need Photoshop, and I know that there's people out there that would disagree. You know, Krita users, you guys that use Angus Studio or Clip Studio, as it's called now in this country. Use whatever in the world you want. Most of these programs are so close to having the same or similar functionality. It doesn't really matter. You can achieve virtually the same results. I just really like the stock plugins and filters on this thing. I really do. I certainly wish that GIMP was a lot more like this in workflow, because GIMP it's a great, powerful program. I use it a lot for doing newsletters and things where I want to manipulate images and set them in there nicely and do a lot of text. But my heart's really with Photoshop, so that's where I typically gravitate toward. We will go back and use GIMP quite a bit either way, because I like it too, and sometimes it's adequate for what I want to do. Overlaying textures and things like that, like what we've done with this piece. Yeah, GIMP would be probably fine for some of this stuff, but again, it's just a question of workflow. Are you having any fun? You people that miss the broadcast and catch me on maybe catch me on a vodcast later, an Insomnia Theater cast or whatever I decide to do. Leave me comments. Make sure that I know who you are, and maybe I can plan it out a little better to catch you online, because this is, as much as this is my show, it's a lot more fun with a partner. It's like sex. It's just better when you got somebody to do it with. I'm looking over at her to see if she's smiling. think we're pretty healthy in that regard. I hate to talk about my sex life on a show. Younger people are probably going, gosh, how gross. This guy has sex, really? Yeah, really. And probably will till I'm 95. Lord help me live that long. But anyway, yeah, I mean, stuff is it's way more fun when there's a lot of people participating and whatnot. Yeah, see, I'm just kind of shaking it out. You can see me just shake it about 3 different times, and those little specularities are set. And again, don't overdo it. Let them be bright spots. Let them be little places that live on top of all the other color, and just bring it to life. Give it a sheen, if you will. Not a Martin Sheen, not a Charlie Sheen, just a sheen. That was good. I thought that was dumb, but okay.
No, it was bad.
Oh, you said it was bad. Well, in that case, I wholeheartedly agree with you. But again, like I said, I'm not really a funny individual. I don't know what it takes to be funny. I leave that up to people like the famous Dr. Nick Redbone, or Dave Chappelle, Charlie Sheen when he's on drugs. Is that guy still alive?
Yeah.
Is he all right? I heard that he wasn't doing too good, but what do I know? Oh, okay. Okay, see, there's a little bit more shadow down here, so let's back out of putting too much specularity down in those shadows. Like this one, you'll notice that I reserved the specularity for up here, not so much down below. I added a little bit up here just because I wanted that to come forward and make it look a little more woolly, but we're just, let's be real cautious where we place our specularity. Specularity. I couldn't really define the term specularity. I just know what it is. But I couldn't give you a scientific, wholehearted explanation of why it is what it is. I think that that has been asked before. What is specularity? How would I define it? Because I use that word a lot. It's like Inigo Montoya. You keep using that word. I do not think that means what you think it means. Oh yes, it means exactly what I think it means. Here's the deal. Specularity is essentially a reserve for the most intense light. It's the most intense light in virtually anything. If you've got a little glint of light on a guitar that focuses itself, it's where that reflection hits that body and comes back to your eye, and makes everything very, very vibrant in those spots. And the reason you want to reserve it is because you don't want the whole thing, your whole image, to be completely washed out. It's like these little guys right here. Obviously, these require a little bit of love, and we want that to poke out a little bit. But we don't want everything on this top bit to poke out. We just want to leave a couple little places. Like this place up here doesn't really need anything. This one maybe, because of the base color is much lighter. Is that Bob Ross?
Yes, it says painter's gonna paint.
Paint is going to paint. I love what they've done with Bob. Bob is obviously he's an icon for everybody that loves nature and beauty and simplicity, and just is a lover, not a fighter. That's Bob. I mean, he's he's godlike in that regard. And I say godlike because, you know, he's made his life about being patient and kind and teaching people and giving of himself. He's definitely a hero of mine for lots of reasons. I mean, not only because he's a painter, but because, wow, that guy was loving on people hardcore way back. You know, back in the 80s and 90s when I remember the guy. It's so cool to have all of his stuff available. Guys, I mean, if you haven't gone out to Bob's Twitch channel, he's got a Twitch channel. What's really cool is we get to see his son Steve paint, who's remarkable. And yeah, Tammy, my friend, her husband Bill just bought her a whole bunch of Bob Ross stuff. And I think it's just awesome. I remember unboxing my Bob Ross easel. Yes, I have all the Bob Ross stuff too. And that painter's palette. Oh man, that clear painter's palette. Wow, that thing is great. My daughter borrowed it one time. She was bored and wanted to tinker around with painting. And I, you know, of course, encourage all that stuff. And so she painted, and then you know, a month or so went by, and you know, she brings it back, and it's covered. It's like she'd taken paint and threw paint all over this thing, and didn't clean it off, didn't scrape the palette. I was heartbroken, and I vowed I would never let her do that again. And I let her do it again, and she took better care of the palette this time. But so funny. Yeah, I could go on and on about Bob Ross. That's one of my favorite subjects. Did you know? I think most people that actually follow his channel, I think that this is good to know. He is, or one of his teachers was a very influential guy, and I believe he was Dutch. Don't quote me on this, but a fellow named Bill Alexander, one of my absolute favorite TV painters, along with Bob Ross and Mr. Robert Warren. They all paint so differently, but so similar. So yeah, love and kudos to all those guys. I sure wish I could have met Bob. I almost took a course. I think it was 1990. Oh goodness. Oh no, I'm sorry. Wrong decade. No, it was closer to like 2005. And I was getting into painting really heavy about that time. I really started painting with oils and whatnot after being afraid of them most of my life. I started painting about 2002, and I did a really terrible painting called I called it the Sadness of Three. It was basically three roses that were kind of wilted. There's some significance there, but we won't go into that. But anyway, yeah, I did it with acrylic paint, and it was fun to do, and it dried quickly, but it gave me a taste of freedom that I'd never known before. And of course, obviously, started getting into researching painters and of course, getting online and looking at Bob Ross. His stuff led me to other places, especially eBay. It led me to eBay, buying up a bunch of used equipment. People's saying, "Well, I can't paint like Bob, so I'm going to chuck it." Well, I bought a bunch of stuff off of eBay, and it led me to a fellow named Mr. Jack Colber. Jack Colber is a fantastic artist and painter. and he had some gear for sale, which I picked up. I'm not going to say it was cheap, but it was necessary. And so Jack introduced me to other artists as well, and we've had long conversations, and I just love his accent. I forget where he's from, but I just loved his accent. I haven't talked to him in quite a while. I see him occasionally on, I think it's Facebook and YouTube. Okay, see these little details here, these little tiny clusters? I'm just gonna just fan those out just a little bit. Don't leave a whole lot of this stuff. Just like that. But you can leave it. You can leave it looking like stardust, because that signifies that there is a kind of a nodular texture in here. And that is groovy to look at. Wouldn't you agree? It's groovy. I love that word, groovy. The first thing I think of when I hear the word groovy is, well, the first thing I think of is Velma. Oh, Levada, did you just pin to gardening?
Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, awesome. Don't worry, that didn't show. I just wanted to expose you for the gardening Pinterest whore you are. And I say that with all due respect. But anyway, yeah, going back to Bob and his influences. I digress, of course. Anyway, Robert Warren, of course, became a favorite of mine. I actually had the privilege of coming across some of his videos, and portrait painting came up, and that one, oh boy, that was just so over my head at that time. It is kind of still over my head, because obviously I can't do portraits like any of these guys, and so I just kind of have to put that in my mind that that's something I will master at some point. And even if I so-called master it, I will probably never be totally impressed with my work in that venue. But anyway, yeah, Robert Warren was offering courses, and I had the money put aside. I think it was about, I don't know, a couple $100 by bus to get there, and I had to be there by a certain time frame. In a certain time frame, it was I think it was about $400 for the course, and I had it all set aside, and something came up, and I just couldn't go. But it was something that I really wanted to do. I just never did get the chance to do it. Now, see what I've done right there is unfortunately I've completely blown out that shine. So I'm going to back that out a little bit, a couple steps here. And I think what I was trying to do with that, I was trying to kind of play with this one a little bit. And I think that I was trying to kind of blend them together, and something just didn't happen right over there. I think it's messing with the texture underneath. So I am going to actually erase some of this stuff, and you can do that. Anytime you feel like erasing something, just erase it. Painting plus erasing, pure enjoyment in art, as my dad would say. Just a pinch between the cheek and gum, pure chewing satisfaction. Notice I'm waiting for Levada to crack up there. She's not. It's not working. It's not working. Maybe it's an inside thing. I know that That was a big deal for my mother when we were growing up. She hated that tobacco business. And of course, you know, even more so because, well, we were kids. We'd get caught and get in trouble. My brother was the worst. Brett, he was just horrible. That kid, if he could get away with it, he sure would. My brother passed away in 2012, and he's so missed. It's crazy. He was the life of the party, really. Always had, you know, he missed his calling. I always told him, Brett, you should have been a bloody comedian. You were hysterical. And he'd always just kind of shrug and smile, and then he'd make a weird sound like, I don't know, like Chewbacca eating a big fat piece of liver. If you can imagine that. His ex-wife used to talk about it, talking like liver. Evidently, he'd crack her up a little bit too. So that's where that talking liver came from. I challenge any one of you guys to go ahead and draw me a picture of a talking liver. I think it would be fun to look at. I'd totally look at it. I don't care. You know, you can go ahead and you know, if you have a real liver, not your own preferably, but a liver, go ahead and take a picture of it and hack it up in Photoshop, and let's take a look, shall we? Now these little guys down here, be careful. Don't let them get too vibrant, because this when we added this purple in here, this is actually a combination of a little bit of red and blue. We don't want that to be too bright. What? Did you say something? Oh. Anyway, we don't want that to be too vivid. So go ahead and smudge it out. Make sure that those colors that you're into down there are not too bright. If it gets too bright, erase it by all means. But we want a little wetness up here. We want that to look like it's like it's wet. Okay, so don't, on this one right here, that's the one we're talking about. This one back here, yeah, we don't want that to be too wet. Maybe a couple little points of specularity up in the top of this, like maybe in this zone here. Maybe one right there, but not a whole lot here, guys. What's really cool is you'll notice as you add specularity and blur it out, you can come right back over the top and make it sharp again. It's all right. So whatever works for you. My way is not the only way. You might have something figured out, or some special brush, or even a plug-in. You know, I don't know how elaborate you are with this stuff, but you might have something that just rocks, and that's cool. Now what I'm doing is I'm kind of brushing in toward a point to sharpen some things. You could do that. You could sharpen with a smudge tool. I know it sounds weird, but as long as you're heaping it up into a pile, it'll sharpen up. And I'm sure that there are other tools that you can use for that. Like a sharpen. Yeah, I know there's a blur brush. I think you could actually come over here and sharpen. I don't really know much about the use of that, because I've never really used it much. But say if we come in here and sharpen, yeah, see, it kind of pinches and whatnot. But we don't have to, we don't necessarily have to use that. Although that does look doggone good. Okay, so yeah, we'll sharpen that right up. I notice I'm about 30 to 40 seconds lagging here. Apologize for that. It's just my internet connection. We have really crappy internet here. Sorry, cable guy, I love you, but sometimes my internet's crappy. It's not your fault. I know you're just the coolest guy that works there. You and my buddy Fireball. Oh, Biggers. Oh, sorry, man. Almost forgot you. I can't do that. You're cool too. Stay cool. So go back to blur and just kind of knock this one back down just a bit more. That looks great. I'm gonna knock that one down just a bit. Okay, now that's plenty. I don't need to get too crazy up there. Let's just blur some of this down. We're gonna blur. And sometimes the blur works just as good as or better than the smudge. The reason I use the smudge most of the time is because I can move it around, move the pigment around better. I say pigment as if it was actual pigment. It's pixels. But let's pretend, shall we? Let's pretend. We could pretend. I mean, art, isn't that what we're doing with art anyway? We're pretending it's real, making it look more real. That's what actors do on the big screen. They take a character and go, hey, I'm real. You should believe it. I'm really good at this role. I'm selling myself to you. Yeah. Keep the specularity down in the background. We don't want it to be too crazy, but we can elevate a few things by adding specularity. We just, pretend that it brings it closer to the eye, and that is groovy. There's nothing quite like the power of that, being able to create like that. So yeah, we'll lift that up a little bit. Let's lift this side up a little bit. Let's just go ahead and lift it. That's all you're doing. It's like you're sculpting. When you bring something a little closer to the onlooker, you're sculpting it. It becomes a little more vibrant, or gains a little light. And so when we push something away from us, we knock it back into the shadows, and therefore it gets a little darker. And so art is very, very much like sculpting. That's why you'll hear me use that term. Actually, I think I'm going to use the blur brush on this one, because I think I've got those where I want them. I got you where I want you now. There's no escape, see? Rocky's going to rub you out. Okay, I'm reaching. But yeah, see, look, I mean, look at that. How nice that looks just with a little bit of blur. See, nothing has to be real sharp there. In fact, because it's out of focus, a little more in the background, it could be blurry, and we still get kind of a simulation of that specularity. It just looks cool, I think. But anyway, yeah, I don't know why it's blacking out on that end. Sometimes my Photoshop will black out just a bit, especially when I'm on Twitch. No idea. It just is what it is. I just deal with it. Pretend like it's a feature, not a bug. Okay, let's just stay right up here in the light a little bit. Maybe we'll specularity right through there. You don't want to overdo it. Just give it kind of a hint. Now see, this back here is getting blue, so we'll lay off of that, because the blue signifies shadow, and there's not a lot of light in shadow back there. I mean, there's still light. I mean, there's still illumination back there, but there's not a lot of it. You know what I mean? There's just a little bit here and there. Well, see, I've come over this area already. I can see the places I've been. But as you work, you'll find little areas that just need a little extra love. Put it in there. do what you got to do to make yourself happy with this. I mean, there is no right and wrong. There's just a matter of, when you look at it, are you pleased? I mean, this is my beloved painting, and whom I am well pleased, or something like that. Yeah, I know. I'm not mocking. I'm just reciting old verses that I once knew the verse, chapter verse numbers. When we were kids, I went to this thing called Awana, and I can't remember the verse, the Bible verse one, but it's called "Approved workmen are not ashamed." Awana, and we memorized virtually everything in the Bible, and we got awards and patches and all kinds of stuff. And it was just something for the church kids to do instead of learning how to get high and go broke. And so, yeah, after memorizing a lot of the Bible, it's inevitable that you will associate a lot of things in life to it. I think that was perhaps the point. I don't know. So if you want your kids to read the Bible, send them to Awana instead of smoking marijuana. Yeah, that cracked my girlfriend up. See, how easy it is to crack people up with drug references. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, these little guys down here, I can't help but add a little bit of something too, because I just think they look like knuckles, and knuckles are detailed. I mean, there's some cool detail back there. And I'm getting into the corners now, so I've got to go that route. But we don't want to get too crazy, because we don't want this to be the main thing. But backing out is a good thing, because we want things to be somewhat continuous. We start adding things here. We want things to pop out in certain spots and pull back in others. Now, see, I'm just giving it a little bit of a blur, because we don't want it to be completely out front, but it is illuminated. I mean, if you look at this, it's not this area in the back, it's up in front, so it's okay for this to have a little sharpness. Oh no. And see, this is why you continually save. You save your work. I'm going to wait for just a second, close the program, and see how far we've gotten. It saves like once every 10 minutes, so I don't know how far we got there. We'll close the program and try again. Worst case scenario, I redo the whole thing. At least you'll have had a good video on the oh well. Let's give it another shot, shall we? Let's see, go to graphics. I've got a couple programs here that I use. I'll be right back. Hey, that's not what I wanted to see. There we go. That's kind of what I wanted to see. So recovering large document format. Thank goodness. I hope that works. It's what it's telling me. It's saying, hey, here's your document. yeah, I think most of my specularity was toast, but I think that's okay. That's all right. Out at this radius, it doesn't look too shabby. So we'll go back to display. Yeah, we got countdown display. Be right back and goodbye. That's my setup basically for OBS. So let's look in here. How far do we get? We smushed around in this area a little bit. Yeah, I actually lost some of my detail up there, but that's okay. Whatevsky. It doesn't matter. I'll tell you what. With that in mind, I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna bow out for tonight. I've been at this for a little while, and I think I'm gonna do the other more refined art of TV watching for a little while. Hope you guys had a good time. I know I did. I always do when I'm doing art with you. So, hope to see you again shortly. Be well, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.